Well, it's time for another album review. Yeah, it's been a little bit, actually about 12 hours, since I put up the review for the At the Gates album. I figured now I come on here and finally review an album that I was intended on reviewing a few days ago, but I just never got around to it until now. This is the review of the new Dragonforce album, Maximum Overload. Well, a brief history about Dragonforce. Dragonforce is a power metal band from England that formed back in about the late 90s. And their intention was to play power metal but make it fast, but also have some mythology behind it. Then again, that's pretty much what most power metal bands have in common with Dragonforce. Except with Dragonforce, the way they play it virtuosic, and they play it in a neoclassical way, and their solos are just absolutely amazing. They got to popular fame through the game Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock when their breakthrough song Through the Fire and Flames was put on there, and it was because it was one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult song to play in Guitar Hero ever. And it got them a buzz, and they've been a mainstream metal band pretty much ever since. But with this album, Maximum Overload, this is the first or the second album with a brand new singer. But the other guys who were in the band, like Sam Tobin, Herman Lee, and the other guys in the band back in that time period in the mid-2000s are still in, just with a new singer. So we get to this album. Now, there is an interesting note with this album, a couple interesting notes, I should say. And that is that, crap, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, there is a Johnny Cash cover on the album when they did the cover of Ring of Fire. Decent cover, but I ain't going to touch base on it on this album. But another note is with 3 songs on the album. The Game, No More, and Defenders feature Matt Heafy from Trivium doing background vocals. Now, with this album, you kick off the album with The Game featuring Matt Heafy, and it was a great song, the fastest song Dragonforce has ever recorded, because it featured blast beats, very thrash tempos. Really, if you would have had a singer from a melodic death metal band on this song, it would have been a perfect melodic death metal track because of how aggressive it was. I about said that. Just have that huge level of aggression within the song. But it fit with the high vocal range on that track. The riffs and the solos on that track was just unbelievable. The drums were just mind-blowing. The next song, Tomorrow's Kings, was another one of those like high positive songs, which was talking about how your life can be better by tomorrow's kings kind of idea. And it was a great track nonetheless. The song No More, which was the second track featuring Matt Heafy, it was a solid track. I did like it. But my only issue with it is it was a little too short. It was the shortest track of the album at under 4 minutes. I think if they would have expanded on that track, it could have been a great one. Three Hammers was one of my favorite songs on the album because it was just like a thing that could fit into a Thor movie soundtrack. Symphony of the Night was a solid one because of that dark atmosphere that was surrounded with the lyrical content. Same can be said for the next track, The Sun is Dead, which is probably the darkest song of Dragonforce's entire history because the lyrics were dark, the imagery behind it was dark, but it was an epic track, and the longest track of the album at 6.5 minutes. It was just a phenomenal song. I'd put that song up there with Through the Fire and Flames as being the best Dragonforce track that there was. Defenders featuring Matt Heafy was a solid one. I really liked how it was done with the mixture of the new singer's voice with Matt Heafy in the background on like the pre-chorus lines. I really liked it. But then we got to Extraction Zone, which was another great track, and I really loved the start of it with the blast beats coming in. I'm telling you, Dragonforce with blast beats is actually very good. Really kick-ass stuff. So, and then the final track of the normal version of the album, called City of Gold, was... I'm sorry, I was just checking something, but City of Gold, even though it was a good song, it just didn't really hit me too hard, but it was a nice closer for the album, so yeah. But overall with this album, it was a really good album. I really liked the ideas behind it. Dragonforce has always been one of those bands that has had talent that may have gotten picked on because of their crazy over-the-top guitar solos and their fast speeds. But at the end of the day, it was impressive what those guys were able to pull. And this album was no different to any other album that's come before, where it has some crazy songs, innovative solos and riffs, and just overall solid performance by every member of the band. So you had the fast songs like The Game, which was the fastest song of their history. Extraction Zone, of course. The epic song arrangements throughout every track with the arrangements and the vocal idea. The guitars was the MVP of this whole album. The guitars were just, oh my god, absolutely unbelievable. The drums were the very close second to it. The drums were very good. The vocals, this new singer doesn't really have the kind of voice that I liked from Dragonforce from ZP Thart, but he's alright. I mean, he's not terrible. I'll say he's a good singer, but I prefer ZP's stuff over this guy's. But that's just me. The production on this album was really good. Great, I'll even say. And the mixture of, like, the positive songs with the dark songs made for an interesting, diverse lyrical album to me. But overall, this album was very good. 8.25 out of 10. Nothing was poor. However, some songs on the album I just felt wasn't up to par with some of the other tracks in particular, but they were still good songs. So there you go. Thank you guys for watching Dragonforce Maximum Overload album review. The next album I'm going to touch on, coming later in the day, it's an important album because it's the return of a band that has been going through downward spirals in the past few years due to the death of a band member and the loss of a band member earlier in the year. We're talking about Slipknot.